Oh hey, I just saw that new The Odyssey movie by Christopher Nolan. This is the cinematic retelling of Homer's Greek epic, The Odyssey, a tale of Odysseus trying to return home after the Trojan War. This is the 13th feature film from Nolan, following Oppenheimer and the massively successful Barbenheimer, which was a defining recent moment in history for moviegoers. I, just like the rest of you, have been patiently twiddling my thumbs, waiting to see if Nolan's next release would make a similar splash. And oh, what a splashing we got. You can't escape this movie. Advertisements, TikToks, and headlines telling you that this is the biggest movie ever made. Everyone who's ever acted is gonna be here, and Homer himself is the unit productions manager. But as you know, expectations set the stage for disappointment, so I try to keep mine low. Oppenheimer and Tenet were by no means failures, but they both go down as some of my least favorite Nolans. One of the reasons I was skeptical was the casting of Matt Damon as the lead, Odysseus. This is one of the biggest and most important roles of the year, no matter how it turned out. And up until now, Damon has yet to blow me away with any of his performances. I've always thought of him more as a Hollywood star than an actor. I was wrong. Damon's Odysseus is a rugged, torn-down warrior who has a gradual and masterful change. You watch a hero rebuild themselves piece by piece with an emotionally in touch performance conveyed by Damon. And despite some generic characters, I don't think that there's a bad performance here. Another one of my fears was the scale of this movie. This is the second longest and arguably biggest Nolan movie. I mean, it's called The Odyssey. Given how conceptual Tenet was and how long-winded Oppenheimer was, as well as Nolan's tendency to set the bar a little bit higher, I was worried The Odyssey was gonna lose itself in the weeds. However, the almost 3-hour runtime flies by due to the movie's episodic nature. The trials of Odysseus and his crew stopping at different islands might seem a little formulaic as you go on with the story, but I personally don't mind because I thought whatever peril the Odyssey brought forth was unique and enthralling. There's some playing around with time, because it's a Nolan movie, it has to, but it feels essential for the movie's pacing. Otherwise, the A and B plots wouldn't weave into each other as gracefully. My first what the fuck moment was the Cyclops. The unavoidable trailer gives you a taste of what this animal looks like, but you don't get a sense of scale. It looks amazing. You see the droopy, weathered skin on this deteriorating beast. Polyphemus's face looks like a god twisted and malformed a human's face. You see the outline of the facial structure caving in, making it that much more real and horrific. This was done with one of those 60-foot puppets we all have, and a little CGI touch-up. Starting off the movie with a monster of this stature makes the power of the gods we don't see that much more impactful, or the one we do see. Athena, my favorite character. She's in this movie the perfect amount, just enough to make her moments on screen mystical and out of reach. The goddess of wisdom and warfare shapes Odysseus's hero's journey by catalyzing him to reflect on the actions he and his army have committed. Her human form is grounded. She mainly gives you time to sit with what you've just borne witness to, whether it's barbaric or heroic. The movie is so loud and intense, but whenever Athena's on screen, it's like you almost get a breath of fresh air. The reveal of why Athena takes her form and haunts Odysseus is one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's poignant, and one of the main reasons I'm itching for a rewatch. It enhances the script, which already feels more emotional than your typical Nolan movie. The big action sequences, you'll see plenty of, develop weight to them when both sides of the coin are revealed. Brutal fight scenes become tinted with memories of guilt. And I love the way the Odyssey handles the morality of fighting. The rumination on the Trojan horse is brilliant. A typical trap that begins as a creative action scene later turns into a reflection on violating the charity of the gods. The movie recontextualizes fights and sacrifices to sell the movie's themes. I'm a massive sucker for stories using fate to tell you what happens. The Odyssey is like a poster child for this. One of my favorite scenes is the conversation with the Shade of Tiresias. It's at this moment that Odysseus's journey shifts from trying to make it home to also reconciling past sins. When Elliot Page first appeared, it seemed like a small role for an actor of his caliber. He dies and we move on, It's a sacrifice, but that's about it. But then Sinan's shade slaps you across the face. Sinan's death is brushed off after the bloodbath we've witnessed up to this point, but that reminder of the weight of a singular death is disturbing. Our perspectives, as well as Odysseus's, are recontextualized. I love the arc of Odysseus thinking he can defy the gods, and then the movie plays out exactly like it tells you, showing you that no man is above these beings. It's funny how the Odyssey itself is coming home from a war. We do get to see the war, yes, but the focus is on how a traumatic event shapes someone. It's a reflection of the pain and hatred inflicted onto others. Telemachus and Penelope's B-plot is great. It's a slow burn compared to Odysseus. I think it's clever how originally Telemachus is the lens we see the Trojan War through. It's a slaughter painted as glorious because it's Telemachus hearing about his dad, rather than what's realized as a painful memory later on. Now, there was a lot of buzz surrounding this movie with the IMAX cameras. They were specifically designed for this movie and 20% quieter than the industry standard. Nolan is always anal about making sure you watch his movies in the correct format. The closest I could get was laser IMAX. I'm in KC, I'm not driving to Chicago, although these projectors are having an equally hard time seeing the movie. To me, the IMAX works best when Zeus is tearing apart Odysseus' ship. It's like an attack on your senses. The scene has more in common with a Travis Scott concert than a movie, and not just because it might kill someone. I loved this intensity. Don't think I'm not going to talk about the awful sound design, but this is an example of more is more working in the Odyssey's favor. During the siren song in IMAX, you get to hear the surround sound of soldiers putting wax in their ears. It's cool even if it's a gimmick, but aside from these specific scenes, I'm puzzled that a director who's obsessed with the technical aspects of his movies is weighed down by his choices more than any movie I've seen this year. The quiet IMAX cameras cannot save the horrendous sound mixing, especially in the exposition. I had trouble hearing significant portions of dialogue. And I'm not talking about when there are massive wars on screen. This is happening in Ithaca's palace, a central setting for this movie. I had to really lean in to understand what people were saying. My parents said they wish they had subtitles, and I agreed with them. But this is such a stupid problem to have. I get it, you want the big fire to look big and bright on the big screen, and it does. The audio is fucking horrible. It is such a muddy soundscape. The murmurs we need to be locked in for are drowned out by needless cheering and music. Not only this, but the entire movie's wall of sound is blaring for almost 3 hours straight. Even subdued moments, like the conversation with Athena I mentioned earlier, can't handle bare dialogue. I would have loved if this movie's sound wasn't always at 11. Leaving the theater felt like when you leave the club and your ears are ringing and you kind of don't know where you are. Sometimes the soundtrack is effective, sometimes an 808 comes in that feels out of place. Although I praised the movie's episodic pacing, I think the exposition and climax suffer quite a bit. The intro you can't hear feels like it's checking boxes. It's quick for a movie that otherwise marches to the beat of its own drum. I'm already strapped in here for almost 3 hours. It's called The Odyssey. Why do we need to rush the intro? On the other side of the spectrum, the climax drags. The showdown in Ithaca's palace is drawn out, and towards the end I was feigning interest. In all honesty, for as much love as I have for The Odyssey, it's packed with flaws. It's ambitious, but also held back by the needless technical features that supposedly bring this movie to the next level. I'm still amazed by what a dramatic epic The Odyssey is. It's a giant spectacle, while remaining more personal than a lot of Nolan's other movies. For how frustrated I am with some of the movie's choices, it doesn't outweigh what an insane journey The Odyssey actually is. I'm feeling a really high 8, or maybe a low 9.